You're listening to the Super Sports Flash podcast.
Welcome into episode number 2 of the Super Sports Flash podcast. I'm your host, Joe Will. We got a couple other hosts in here.
I'm one of the other hosts, Matt Nash.
And I am Tyler Shibish,
the man who
with
wields
two
the pens.
Two pens
Lord.
in my hand right now.
2 pens, wow.
For those of you who
Flexing
can't
off.
see, actually you may be able to see because we actually just started video recording this one.
Hello,
He does
YouTube.
in fact have 2 pens.
Yeah, so episode 2. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, some pretty deep stuff at the beginning, and then kind of as the show goes on, we'll get a little lighter with it. But
Yeah, this is a sports show, but I think we would be amiss to not start with
Yeah.
the NBA boycott that just happened.
Yeah,
yesterday.
absolutely.
And so for those that don't know, Jacob Blake sparked basically a national media phenomenon when a video came out of him walking and trying to get into his car, and then he got shot in the back by police in Wisconsin 7 times. Just downright wrong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when is it going to stop? But anyway, that led to the Milwaukee Bucks, which is especially big because it happened in Wisconsin,
Mhm.
not taking the court for their playoff game 5 against the Magic yesterday.
Yeah.
And so that led to a lot of, it was very divisive whether the players should have played or not. So I want to get your guys' opinion. Do you, support the players, not playing?
Yeah, I do. Because when it comes down to it, you can make the argument these guys are paid to go out there and play, but they're also still human beings. And they have a right. They have this same, intent as everyone else to go out there and be like, yo, we need to fix this. Because especially, it hits home with the Bucks because they're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Mhm.
But player on their roster, I believe Sterling Brown, was actually the victim of police brutality a couple years ago as well. So it doubly hits home for these guys. And some of them had doubts about being in the bubble already because they were worried that their voices wouldn't be heard. So I feel like this is probably, the right thing for them to do just as players and whatnot.
I like the idea, and I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I feel like them playing and having that platform, in an NBA playoff game is the easiest way for them to get their message out there to the most amount of people because everybody's watching the playoffs. And, you have a chance there, whether it be before the game, in post-game interviews, halftime interviews, to give your thoughts and just kind of enlighten the whole country on this serious issue because there are a lot of people that, aren't taking it serious. And I feel like NBA playoffs, especially if you're a big name player like LeBron James or Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think that's the perfect, spotlight to give your message. But I also, like I said, completely understand why they would boycott the games.
See, actually, I was talking to Matt about this a little bit when you were wrapping up your show. And I actually kind of feel the opposite, not in the support for the whole boycott. I completely support that. And I like the way they handled it. Sit out one game, get a lot of attention, draw, and then have your platform. But I think that it hurts the lesser known players more than it would hurt the big name players if they sat out the rest of the season. Because, LeBron James, people are going to listen to LeBron James. Donovan Mitchell has been big in the whole activism. And people are going to listen to him. He's a superstar now. All these big name players already have a platform, but I think that playing in the playoffs gives a platform to a lot of the young players or the lesser known players that they wouldn't have without basketball.
Well, see, yeah, I can see that. But on the other hand, these are all guys who are in the playoffs and they're competing. And most of these guys aren't competing for a contract. They are set in stone. If it was the Hornets in there, maybe I would be I can see more of your point. But you've got guys on the Lakers. Every single one of those guys has had a big contract or has been in the league for 15 years. Jared Dudley's on the smallest contract on that roster. Terry Horton Tucker. And he's not, even if he does get there, he doesn't get minutes anyways. And so them going out there and boycotting the game doesn't really hurt these little guys as much because there aren't as many little guys. They've either already been paid or they've already pretty much guaranteed themselves a larger contract or a spot in a roster somewhere due to the fact that they're on a team competing in the playoffs.
But you mentioned, Jared Dudley, for example. Do you think without playing in the playoffs, people would care about what he said as much as they do, someone like I don't know, for example, a superstar that isn't in the playoffs right now. If Steph Curry came out and said something right now, I'm sure he would garner a bigger audience especially, if Jared Dudley wasn't on a playoff team. But the fact that he's playing, it does give him an outlet.
No, that is a little true, but what we're seeing is a lot of these smaller, quote unquote, smaller players. George Hill and Sterling Brown in particular were the ones who made the statement for the Bucks, and those are both. Sterling Brown doesn't really get minutes. He's like a very small rotation guy. George Hill's a backup point guard, so it allows them to, like, they have the voice. They're allowing these smaller guys who are more passionate about it to go out there and talk about this kind of stuff, and the Stars are kind of. They're not sitting back because they're also saying stuff about it, but they are showing their support in that everyone's agreed, we're going to sit down and, like, we're going to make a big statement by just not playing at all.
And it's not even just players. I mean, we saw Doc Rivers get super emotional in his post-game press conference, just, basically reiterating what we're saying, when is it finally going to end? And then also NBA legend Kenny Smith walked off the set of TNT yesterday, just got up and left.
Yeah, I think that was a really good gesture.
I got
solidarity, especially because former player.
Yeah, I have big respect for that. That was huge. Like, and Kenny the Jet has like always been like the most respected guy. And I saw all kinds of comments on the videos. Redmond like, oh, you're the worst one on that show. No, he's not. It's all four of them make that show what it is. And
there's an argument to be made that he's the best one on that show, in my opinion. I mean, like, he does a great job.
I mean, he's certainly more sane than both Shaq and Charles, but that's not saying
yeah,
much,
that's setting the bar pretty low.
Yeah, it is, but regardless, like, all jokes aside, like, that was a huge gesture by him, and it's like even these old guys that aren't currently playing are still out there caring, and they're out there making statements, and they're standing together, and it's just like, yes, that's powerful. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Well, and then the most recent report that came out today was that tonight's Thursday night's games and tomorrow's Friday night games are going to be boycotted. Yeah. And then they are expected to resume play on Saturday.
Exactly. It's just like all the NBA is going to be doing is rescheduling the games for later, but the players are making such a huge statement by just saying, we're not going to play right now.
Well, how do you guys feel? I know we saw LeBron James, the Lakers, and then also the Clippers were reportedly the two teams that didn't want to go on, which is very peculiar to me because they're both, two teams that are favored to win it all. And LeBron takes a lot of heat. So the fact that he would be willing to just not play the remainder of the playoffs out, and, he's getting up there in age, I think that's pretty crazy too.
Yeah, I feel like the main reason behind that was just it's meant to show it's like, yes, we all have all this kind of stuff on the line. We are both championship contenders. And because of what has happened to Jacob Blake and all kinds of African-American, people in that position, they're saying no matter how important what we're doing is, this is more important. This is worth taking that hit to my legacy as a basketball player. And this is worth me not winning a championship this year. This is the most important thing we can be doing right now, more important than going out there and playing basketball.
Yeah, so obviously that was super important, and we're all very glad to see the players, speak up and use their platform and use their power to make a difference. We're actually going to talk in depth about some of the, playoff games, the actual basketball that's going on. Tyler, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. So the Celtics swept who are they playing again?
The Celtics swept the 76ers.
76ers.
Who are the 76ers
Honestly,
again?
the 76ers without
Ben Simmons but
is just, I completely forgot they were even in the playoffs because they did absolutely nothing.
They did.
Joel Embiid did not.
Joel Embiid. My prediction
would
was
you
wrong.
qualify Joel Embiid as a superstar? I just don't think he's got that leadership.
I think Joel Embiid is more of a superstar than Ben Simmons. I don't think that's controversial.
Yeah,
I think that's not controversial, but also
I don't think Brett Brown is a very good coach either.
I think Brett Brown is a spectacular coach, and he's think he has been given two players who cannot function together. Joel Embiid. Stan Van Gundy gave me this stat, and I think I said it last time. The 76ers were like 8-3 when Joel Embiid shoots less than 3 3-pointers, but they were 2-10 when he shot more than 3. You know what happens when a guy who can't shoot threes is your point guard? You have to step outside of the paint and shoot more.
You know what happens when you're a head coach in the NBA and someone does something bad? You bench him or you coach him.
So you want to
Well, I don't know if
Ben
you can
Simmons?
bench. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about Joel Embiid or, just tell him don't take threes.
Well, that's the thing. You can't tell him to not take threes. You need that floor spacing with Ben Simmons out there.
He's also a character, and I don't think he would take that very well if his head coach told him not to do something.
Well, I don't know how I feel about Joel Embiid, but I know that
It's
Ben Simmons has been working on the 3 ball. It's just not where it is yet. It's just not where it needs to be. Like, he needs to just move like worlds from where he is to get to the point where he needs to be.
It seems like we've been waiting like so long for Ben Simmons to finally make that jump, and it just hasn't happened.
And I have a question for y'all before you do that.
Okay.
How much longer do we have to wait?
I don't think it'll ever happen. If it hasn't happened yet.
How much longer should we wait for Ben Simmons to finally get it to the point?
I think people need to accept kind of like Lonzo Ball, where he came in and everyone had such high hopes for him, and then eventually they realized he was just a good playmaker and not a good offensive threat. And I think Ben Simmons is similar. Plus, I think Ben Simmons is a little better defensively. He was on a couple people's like defensive player of the year ballot.
That's not a vote. Lonzo Ball's defense has always been like very good too.
I know, but that's a compliment to Ben.
Exactly,
Simmons.
that's a compliment to Big Simmons. At that Big Simmons, Ben Simmons.
I mean, he is big.
He's the Big Simmons.
But I just want to point out, you said Brett Brown wasn't a bad coach, but he's been a coach of the 76ers since 2013. In that, he has missed the playoffs 4 times, won 1 round of the playoffs 2 years, and then lost in the first round this last year. So, how much do you, how much longer do you let him, try to win a series or make some noise?
I mean, to be fair though, like that is a good point, but also, how long has Joel Embiid been in the NBA for? What, 3-4 years maybe?
He had that injury, didn't he?
Yeah, he sat out.
He sat out 2 years.
I think this is going to sound bad. I think Embiid and Simmons just need a change of scenery. I think they should just cut bait on those guys and move on from them.
I think you keep one. I think you keep Joel Embiid. He embodies the city of
and
Philadelphia.
It's so hard to find a big man like Joel Embiid. Very rare.
He is dominant. He's a very good defender. He's a very good offensive player. Unfortunately, his conditioning is a little bit questionable because of the big injuries, and you can't get to as good a shape as you need to be once you get those injuries. But, I mean, I don't know, man. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Joel Embiid, like I said, I want to give the Sixers one more year, and I know I was just saying you can't keep giving them years, but this is one more year with a different coach.
Yeah, give them a different coach.
Who's a good coaching fit for the 76ers?
I mean, Nate McMillan is find himself jobless.
Let's talk about that. The Pacers just fired Nate McMillan.
Okay, so the Pacers, we're talking about the playoffs. They also got swept by the Heat. Lower seed, by the way.
Pacers got swept by Heat, who were a lower seed, but also the Heat shouldn't have been a lower seed, in my personal opinion.
Oh, no, I agree. I think the Heat are like the second or maybe third best team.
Yeah, second or third.
Depending on the Raptors or the Heat.
Guys, is it just me or we've seen a lot more, sweeps this year in the playoffs than previous years?
I mean, it just shows the gap in skill in the East. And also, the Pacers were injured.
Yeah.
And
all 3
these
teams
are
that got
situations
swept.
too.
No, literally all 3 teams that got swept were missing. Like, if you look at the Nets, they're literally missing 7 of their top 9 players.
And
or something
2 of those
They're gonna
players
be good
are
next year.
Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
And DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan came off the bench for Jared Allen all year, but...
Yeah, I know. But, and then you also have the Pacers were banged up, and then the 76ers obviously missing Ben Simmons, who... Watching that play was really weird because I got excited watching it because he took like a step back and I thought he was going to shoot a 3. But then he just walked off the court and didn't play basketball again this year.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Every time I think of the 76ers, I just can't help but think about that shot last year that Kawhi hit in the playoffs over Joel Embiid, where Joel Embiid was crying. I think about that every time. I feel kind of bad for the city of Philadelphia because the 76ers just haven't, been what we expected them to be. We expected a lot out of them with Simmons and Embiid, but I don't know.
You want to know who I think the problem is in Philadelphia? I think it's Elton Brand, their GM.
Oh, for
so
sure.
Do a lot of fans.
Because look at it. If you look at the numbers, you've got Al Horford making $29 million a year, and he's 34.
How many combined points did he have this series? Over under 15. I don't remember.
I'm smashing the under button on that one. You've got that. You've got Tobias Harris not playing well at all and making upwards of $25 million as well. Then you've got Ben Simmons not even playing because he's injured. You've got Joel Embiid out there trying his tail off, but you can only do so much as a big man who's, when he attempts more than 3 threes a game, his team just loses. And the only other guy on the team that actually seemed like he was there and on was Matisse Thybulle.
Hey, he's a beast, actually.
But no,
He's
don't
on
get
my
me-
rookie team.
don't get
I'm
me
not
wrong.
gonna lie to you. I have no idea who that is.
Matisse,
Rookie shooting guard out of Washington.
Washington,
He's a
okay.
great defender.
I think he averaged 3.9 steals a game in college.
Yeah, something
which is
insane.
That's
like-
insane.
That's ridiculous. you average 2 in the NBA if you're an elite defender. And this
Yeah,
guy
I mean-
averaged 3.9 in college.
He's not like much of a scorer, but he's an elite defender already as a rookie, which I think is pretty insane.
I
So-
think he's a better Andre Roberson, honestly.
I want to get to the last point here that we have on our
Okay.
trusty Google Doc about the NBA playoffs.
Yes.
Nets are planning to offer Greg Popovich.
Why
a
would he
contract.
leave the Spurs?
That's the thing. He's the GM of the Spurs.
Yeah.
Like,
What
it just doesn't. It won't work. There's no.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
At that
That's like-
age, too, you're gonna want to just a complete change of scenery. I mean, that's a pretty significant challenge for him. So if he's up for it, he's a great coach, and I mean that would.
that's like what the Packers offering Bill Belichick a contract.
Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
okay, but
Hey,
why?
Bill Belichick,
Yeah.
you've been successful. You're probably not going to be successful this year. So why don't you come on over here?
I
and
mean,
coach
how
us?
many years does Popovich even have left? I mean, he's
Yeah, he already
He's up there in
relinquished
age.
the coach of the Olympic team. Like he used to be the coach of the Olympic team, and then
I think it was after his FIBA debacle where he
Yeah.
he was like, you
Oh,
know what,
yeah, that's
Derek White, you're on the team, and then we lost
Yep.
by like 40.
well, and then but also part of that is age. I
Well,
think.
yeah, part of it
'Cause
is
traveling
age.
like that is pretty stressful.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I always thought that Greg Popovich would retire with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan, but he outlasted them. So
Yeah, I think he's just
It's
trying to
crazy to
set it
think
up for
about.
one of his assistants, whether it's Tim Duncan taking over or Becky Hammond,
Hammond.
because that would be awesome. He was like, set it up, get the Spurs back to a point where they're winning, and then hand it off to the first female coach in NBA history
yeah.
just to screw the doubters over.
or Tim Duncan.
Yeah, either
or
way,
Tim
honestly,
Duncan.
I'm
Yeah.
it's a
Either way
win-win.
would be awesome. I'm just thinking about Tim Duncan coaching that team would be
TBD.
special. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like Becky Hammond will actually have a head coaching job in a couple of years.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
she's
Really good.
super
Like
sharp.
she did take over for a couple of games this year
Yeah.
when Pop couldn't attend. And
She's
she
in
did
a
well.
good position to succeed, and she's succeeded up until this point. So
Yeah.
I actually was wrong. There's one more point on
There's
here.
2 more points.
There's a couple more points.
We talked about the Sixers.
And we talked about the Sixers problem.
Ah, okay.
We only
Sorry,
touched on the Pacers, but fun fact about the Pacers before we move on.
Mhm.
The Pacers fired their head coach, Nate McMillan, on August 26th. Do you guys know when they extended him? August 12th, exactly 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, I remember it wasn't like going into the playoffs.
It was.
And then
They
they were like,
Why
wait,
did they
never
do that?
mind.
They extended
Why?
him and fired.
Honestly, it's okay. It's dumb that they extended him if they were just going to fire him. But props to them because too many teams would try to hold on to it and be like, "Hey, we made this bad decision, but we're going to ride it out."
Yeah.
So at least they had, the guts to
Yeah,
be
they're
like,
like,
"We
"Oh,
don't think he's our coach."
we
Yeah.
paid you all this money. You're not as good as we thought you were. So
it's like when
hit the
people
road.
I mean,
kept trying
on
to
the
make
one-
Brock Osweiler a quarterback.
The Brockwaller.
look, man, I'm
Brock
I'm now happy that the Broncos just let him go.
The Brock
But-
Lobster.
But all I'm saying is, how you gonna fire a man who like Domantas Sabonis was his only All-Star, Victor Oladipo's not at 100%, and as much as people like to joke on Jeremy Lamb, he is a valuable piece off the bench for them. The guy makes T.J. Warren look like a stud in his system,
Yeah.
and even if he's not scoring 50 points a game, he's still just averaging 20. Like averaging 20 is huge in this league, especially when you've got the likes of Brogdon, the likes of Victor. Like the starting lineup is stacked: Brogdon, Oladipo, Warren, and then you've got Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner on the court at the same time. If you have that, you take Miles Turner out with like 6 minutes left, and you play Domantas Sabonis for the first 10, and then you start just
So
switching them out. For
do you
each
think
other.
they just gave up too soon on him?
Yes. I think they saw one thing start to go wrong and said, "Oh, we can't
They
do it."
panicked. Yep.
I mean, they fired Frank Vogel for no reason.
So I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think
can't
with
believe that.
the Pacers, it's kind of like Marvin Lewis. I'm gonna liken this to the NFL.
Yep.
I think I'm looking at their last 5 years right now. They've lost in the first round every single year of the last 5 years. So it's like at the end of the day, what good is a coach that can get you to the playoffs but not get you success? Their closest, they had a 3-4 loss, like series loss against the Raptors in 2015, and then a 3-4 loss against the Cavs in
Yeah, because
2018.
Yeah.
you're not really getting better. I mean, you're making the playoffs every year, which is really impressive. But at the same time, you're not getting those draft lottery picks. You're not
Yeah.
getting those top college prospects.
You're just kind of in between.
Yeah, it's
But-
like the Redskins when they go 8-8. It's just frustrating. The Washington Football Club, not the Redskins.
Football
Yeah.
team.
Yeah,
But-
Washington football team. Yeah,
Actually, sorry, Matt, I didn't mean to
You're
interrupt you.
good.
But one
You're
last
good.
thing I wanted to say is actually those 3 other years that they didn't go 3-4, they got swept.
Yeah.
So
I mean, who did they get swept by? The Cavs, and the Cavs?
Heat,
The
Celtics, Cavs.
Okay, let's examine that. The Heat. That's
Okay.
understandable. That was this year, right?
The 5th seed Miami Heat.
The 5th seed Miami Heat with all their guys playing at a high level, and the Pacers don't have all their guys. And then the Celtics, coached by Brad Stevens, the genius of the East, the Popovich of the East, who's like, they've got all these young studs that are just going to be spectacular. Who was the other one?
The Cavs.
The
which is
Cavs, LeBron.
James's
And then
Cavs.
they took
LeBron
LeBron
James.
to 7. And then the Raptors, who were a powerhouse when they had DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. People forget their regular seasons were
the
were
powerhouse
spectacular.
of last year's Celtics that lost 1-4 against the Bucks in the next series.
Yeah, they did. But that was also the Bucks, who were a tornado that ripped through
Who
most teams.
Lost to the Raptors.
Who did lose to the Raptors, who were
Ooh.
NBA champions.
That's true. A lot of people lost to the Raptors last year.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost to the Raptors. Some of them
including
in
the
heartbreaking.
76ers.
I was about to say some of them in heartbreaking fashion.
All right, so we're going to move off of the basketball stuff, and we're going to start talking about some fantasy football.
I'm
like
so
it.
excited.
So the season's
hype.
the season's right around the corner. People are having their drafts for the next couple of weeks. I know I have my draft scheduled for this Sunday at 6:30, and I put up a Twitter poll today because, guys, I'm absolutely torn about who I'm going to take. I have the number 4 pick,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a Bama guy. I got some Bama bias. So Derrick Henry looks pretty appealing to me,
Yeah, Derrick
but
Henry's good.
Derrick Henry at 4?
Okay, so I saw your list, right? And the only beef that I have with it is I don't think Joe Mixon is worth the 4th pick. He could have like a crazy season,
Yeah.
but you already know who I voted for on your list. And
Alvin
that
Kamara?
was- Of course, yeah, Alvin Kamara.
No, Dalvin Cook.
Obviously Dalvin Cook.
I voted for Dalvin as well because I just believe that Dalvin Cook was so dominant last year,
Mhm.
and the Vikings now have one less target for Kirk Cousins to overthrow.
No, Justin Jefferson's here.
One less target for Kirk Cousins to overthrow.
He's out of COVID jail.
And Tajay Sharp. Don't sleep on Tajay Sharp.
Okay, my bad. 0.9 targets. 0.9 less targets now for Kirk Cousins to overthrow. They're just going to keep handing it off to Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, honestly,
I just don't know if I see Dalvin Cook in that, elite conversation. And part of it's just he doesn't garner a lot of hype from the media, I don't think. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal running back. I wanted Washington to draft him coming out of college, and they didn't because, I don't know, that they're idiots. But I like Dalvin Cook. I mean, I like every single one of these guys on the list. Alvin Kamara makes me a little nervous just because he's not, he doesn't he's a featured running back, but he's ever since Mark Ingram left
yeah,
to
he
go to
wasn't that great
Baltimore
last
he
year.
hasn't really done much.
Obviously Vikings bias, but I legitimately believe that Dalvin Cook is in the best position of those running backs. Maybe okay, I don't want to say best position. Derrick Henry,
Run,
Henry.
Forrest.
might have the most rushing yards next year of them, but I think that his pass catching game is a lot weaker than Dalvin Cook.
Oh,
I
it's
think
so
that Dalvin
weak.
Cook is a lot better of a pass catcher,
Yeah.
and I think that you have one of two ways you can handle Dalvin Cook coming into this year. Either you're going to run him into the ground, a la the Steelers with Le'Veon Bell, and then let him go for cheap,
Yeah.
or he's playing for a contract and we do extend him, and then he becomes the future of our offense,
Yeah.
for the foreseeable future. And we have Gary Kubiak stepping in as full-time offensive coordinator. If you know him, he likes to run the football, and so I think that Dalvin Cook is in a position similar to Derrick Henry, where their team is just going to run them into the ground. But I think that Dalvin Cook is more versatile.
Yeah. Also, Alvin Kamara would be an option, but it's just because he is literally the most versatile among these guys. Like Dalvin is more versatile than a lot of them, but
I really like you. You guys aren't fans of Joe Mixon?
nope.
I really like Joe Mixon, but the more I think about it, taking him at 4 is a reach. I might be able to
Yeah.
get him later on. I don't know how the rest of the people in my league feel about him,
He's out
but
of practice right now too.
yeah, he's been having migraine issues, which is worrisome.
That's not good.
And they still have Giovanni Bernard there, who I'm looking at his picture right now. He's got a mustache way better than mine. I'm kind of jealous. So honestly, I think it's between Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of touches, and then Dalvin Cook. I'm not sold on Alvin Kamara, and I
Yeah.
like Mixon a lot, but like I talked about, he's just he doesn't put up the numbers that those other guys do, and he's having migraine issues, which worries me.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Hey, you don't know.
Derrick Henry also had by far his best year last year, and so I don't know if that's him stepping to his own or it's an outlier. It could be one or the other, but
I
we
think
don't know until
He's not going to put up numbers.
I don't
better
think he's
than
going
last
to put
year.
up the same numbers that he did last year, but I think he's going to put up similar numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
also, Mike Vrabel has finally gotten it through his thick linebacker skull that Derrick Henry is a workhorse and needs to get the ball a bunch. Because previously, he was like splitting carries with Deion Lewis in single back formation. I'm like, you don't run Deion Lewis in single back. Deion Lewis is a third down guy.
Yeah.
And what you do is you run first down, and it's an I form to Derrick Henry, and then you run second down, and it's a single back to Derrick Henry. Then third down,
And
the
you
play
just run on third down because you have Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding. I like Ryan Tannehill. I was actually a fan
too,
of
yeah.
him. So
Well, the thing is, typically you don't have to get to third down running the ball
With
on
Derrick
first with Derrick Henry because he'll
Yeah.
just get just 6 yards to carry.
Derrick, go ahead.
I was going to say picking 4 is just tough because obviously Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and Zeke are all going to be gone. And so
Yep.
I'm just kind of left with, the rest of this list here. And I'm looking at Matthew Berry's fantasy football rankings at the running back position. And he's got McCaffrey at 1, Barkley at 2, Elliott at 3, Kamara at 4, Cook at 5, and you guess who he has at 6?
Is it Joe Mixon?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, actually, yeah, I did see that one.
Wait, where did he get drafted again?
He went to the
LSU.
32 to the
Oh,
Chiefs.
where did he? Yeah.
Oh,
He was the only first round.
And then Derrick Henry is at 7. I guess this is not just running backs; it's a full list. Michael Thomas at 8, Mixon at 9, and Jacobs at 10.
Michael Thomas depends on if you're PPR or not.
If you're PPR,
He's a
draft
very
Michael
high
Thomas
pick.
We
one.
are half PPR.
Also, I think Michael
Which
Thomas
is
is
weird.
still a solid investment. 'cause
He's a solid investment because he's going to just get 100 yards and a touchdown a game.
I hate taking receivers first. Typically, I take running backs back to back just because Michael Thomas is incredible, but he's going to have some bad weeks. Whereas Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, they're going to get their carries. Even if they have bad games, they're going to still get a bunch of carries, and there's always a chance that they're going to break one. Where it's with Michael Thomas, let's say Drew Brees, who's getting up there in age, has a bad game, or he gets injured, and Jameis Winston comes in. You're relying on the quarterback to distribute you the ball. You're like throwing it. Obviously, as a running back, the quarterback, all he has to do is hand it off, which is a lot easier than, or say you're going against a really good defensive line and your quarterback is just under pressure all game and he can't get the ball to you.
I mean, on the one note, yes, that is true. But on the other hand, Jameis Winston also had 2 guys look spectacular last year. So
I mean, Jameis Winston's a baller and so is Drew Brees, but that was
well, the
just
thing
the
is,
example
he's a
I can think
baller,
of.
but he's a question mark. It's a baller with a question mark because
30 for 30, man.
he's going to give you the 30.
You're going to
for
make
30.
a 30 for 30 on his 30 for 30 season.
Exactly what you need to do.
So actually, that's what I want to talk about next. You guys got me thinking about the Bucks, and so we were talking about, or I wanted to talk about people that we thought were going to over or underperform this year, and I'm a lot lower on Chris Goodwin or
Godwin,
Chris
yeah.
Godwin, excuse me. I got him confused with Marquise Goodwin.
Well, think
I always
about
do
how many
that.
weapons they
But-
have.
Well, and
An
it's not even
army.
that. It's
And
just
Mike Evans will be healthy this year.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, right?
Yeah.
2 star receivers
Mhm.
that had amazing seasons because they had Jameis Winston as their quarterback who
Yeah.
wasn't afraid to just chuck the ball 60 yards every play,
Screw it.
which is what they're strong at. But now they have Tom Brady, who's a lot more willing to throw the ball away or take a sack than make the risky decision, I
Yeah.
think.
And he also doesn't have the arm power to throw it 60 yards anymore.
and
That's his
so
huge problem.
I think that both of them will probably have worse seasons this coming year than they've had last year when they had a quarterback that was just didn't know the word risk. throw.
Yeah, I'm not.
No, he only knew the word risky throw.
I know the Bucks are pretty hyped up, and they've got Brady, they got Gronk, they've got Evans, but I'm not buying the Tampa Bay hype. I don't know how you guys
I'm
feel
not
about
buying
it, but
anything with Gronk because
I always say it, a 43-year-old quarterback and a banged up tight end that's been out of the league for a year.
Yeah.
How much of a difference does that actually make? I mean, Tom Brady, credible
Hey,
quarterback, but
and a 80-year-old running back now too, because they signed LaShawn McCoy. didn't they?
LaShawn McCoy.
well, they still have Ronald Jones, but
Yeah, I know. I don't think he's going to be their starter. I'm just
I
saying.
mean, yeah. Here's the deal. It's
It's
he
another
might be.
addition.
If
They're-
Ronald Jones continues to struggle and continues to not be able to step
they
up,
drafted a guy too. I don't remember.
I mean, they're just gonna try and run a running back roundhouse like they did last year because Bruce Arians is like, let's get this thing going.
I love Bruce Arians too. I think he's one of the best
awesome.
coaches in the game, but I just don't see them.
Yeah, they drafted Keshawn Vaughn.
Out of Vanderbilt,
Yeah.
who's good. I mean, they've got a very talented roster. I just It's going to sound bad. I think Tom Brady hinders their chances of being successful.
That's kind of spicy.
That is a-
best
I think-
quarterback of all time.
That is a hot take.
I think if they had Jameis Winston instead of Brady, they'd be in a better position to succeed.
See, it's interesting.
I firmly disagree with that point.
You have to weigh 30 touchdowns versus 30 interceptions.
Yeah, but
he scores a lot, but
he had eye
also
gives
surgery. He had
them
eye
so-
surgery.
that's true. Maybe he was just playing blind.
But what is Brady going to give you? He's not going to give you anything crazy.
He's gonna give you
He's gonna-
leadership
I think-
and
What Brady's
mind.
going to be able to give you is those fourth quarter clutch drives because their defense got better, their offense got better. Like even if it is Jameis Winston was the guy who was just like I embodied Tampa Bay. Here's going a 40-yard
Gunslinger, yeah.
whatever. But Tom Brady is all about accuracy. It's about precision. It's about running the offense in a set thing. With Jameis Winston, there were so many inconsistencies from even your quarterback that now it's just the question of will this help these two receivers like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, because now they've got that stability. They don't have to worry about the ball not like physically being catchable because Brady's going to get the ball to them in a catchable manner.
Is he though? I mean,
I
does he
feel like
have
he-
that arm strength?
It's not about
same
strength.
against the Titans this last year.
All
In
right
the
now.
playoffs.
All right now. I mean, it's not necessarily even
He's
about
a
strength
shell
as
of
much.
his former self.
But his former self was the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
That's also.
I would also
debatable.
like to counter that though by saying that he's a shell of his former self, but the team that everyone has is the de facto number one in that division also has a shell of his former self, the
Exact-
quarterback,
yeah.
and Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Drew Brees also didn't look as hot last year. I mean, he had a good season, but he didn't look nearly as hot as he had in the past.
I mean, he still looked really good though.
Yeah.
Drew Brees is better than Tom Brady.
Oh, I wouldn't argue that. I'm just
Neither
saying
would I.
that he's also declined a lot, but people
Yeah.
don't seem to bring that up. When they
If
only
you
like to-
if you put Drew Brees in that Patriots system with Bill Belichick, do you think he has as many rings as Tom Brady?
I think so. I mean, it's
I think
hard
Belichick
to say.
and Brady, the relationship they had for so long was incredible, and I don't want to take anything away from it. But aside from being, I mean, Brady's super smart. He's very disciplined, but he's not going to beat you with his legs. He doesn't have a rocket for an arm, and I'm not sold. I'm not sold
So,
on Tom
you know what?
Brady.
So what you're
I will change my answer. I think that Drew Brees will have 2 less rings than Brady does because obviously Tom Brady is very good and obviously Bill Belichick runs a fantastic system. But at the end of the day, Tom Brady has made some of the most clutch drives you have ever seen in your life. He just does it all
A
the
lot
time.
of lucky plays too.
Well,
I mean, but without 2 huge lucky plays, he'd have 2 more rings. as
Exactly.
Well, so.
Yeah, I mean it's
Goes
it's
both
sports.
ways.
There's a lot of luck. that
luck
plays
goes
into
both
it.
ways, and luck is a skill at the end of the day. So
So what I hear you saying, Joe, is that the system around Tom Brady is really good, making him a system quarterback.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Ooh,
Because
hot take.
you know who's in that system right now is Cam Newton. And just wait.
Oh, you
at
think
the
he's
year
gonna have a
he's
better
gonna
year
than Tom Brady?
had last year?
Then
So than Brady had last year. Do you think Newton
of
this
course. So he's gonna have a better year than Brady's had the last 3 years.
So what you're telling me is MVP Cam Newton is what. That's all I'm hearing.
Yeah, because Tom Brady won MVP
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago.
Yes.
Cam Newton will be the MVP this year.
That is extremely
There we go.
spicy.
I was making a joke, and now it has gone too far. I am sorry, audience.
We always go too far on this show. We like
Well.
to walk a thin line.
So,
We walk a thin line, and we're far on the other side of it.
so I have to ask then. I talked about Chris Godwin. Excuse me.
Oh, man.
There we go.
Man.
Words are
And
hard.
Mike Evans having a worse year this year. So who else do you think would take a step back in fantasy this year?
I don't know about take a step back, but I'm very high on Leonard Fournette.
Let's take a step forward or stay around the same.
Take a step forward because he was good. He wasn't good, very great last year, but the year before he was pretty solid. And I think that he'll be back to his normal self this year.
I cannot consciously bet on the Jaguars right now, in any form of as much as I want Gardner Minshew to be really good, their offense is just a huge question.
Oh yeah, I'm in a keeper league. I had the choice between Alvin Kamara, Leonard Fournette, and Melvin Gordon, and I chose Alvin Kamara because I've had Leonard Fournette for
Understandable.
2 years, and I am sick of him.
So that's a pretty good choice to have.
It is it's a great choice to have, and that's neither here nor there. I think Devontae Adams might take a step back this year.
God, I hope so.
Well, all right, Vikings fan here, but I am a Broncos fan. I have no stake in this. I think Devontae Adams is going to take a step back just based purely on the fact that Aaron Rodgers hates the Green Bay Packers now.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
That's all speculation.
He says,
man.
you know
I
what?
don't buy into
He
that.
said,
you know.
guys, I need a running back. I need some more targets because I'm tired of throwing to lawn chairs besides Devontae Adams.
You're not a
And
fan of Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
No,
Or
I am not.
Equinemius
Equinemius
St.
St. Brown. No, I am not a fan of those
Alan
guys.
Lazard?
The more names you say, the more my point is confirmed by this.
They
because-
drafted a blocking tight end, though.
Josiah out of Cincinnati. I can't remember his last name.
They
but-
drafted a blocking tight end and a backup quarterback
and a
because
really
they're
big
tr-
running back, too.
and they're trying
Yeah.
to replace Aaron Rodgers.
Uh,
Aaron Rodgers hates the Green Bay Packers.
It's not that Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand why they're trying to. Well, other than age, I don't see why they would be trying to replace him because he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the game.
age.
But they're not helping him out
Yeah.
like we talked about with the players around him. He's kind of having to put the team on his back. And
Exactly. And the thing is, he's not going to be motivated now to come back from those injuries that he is guaranteed to have because he has to sit in the pocket for 19 seconds trying to scramble around and make a play.
Packers linemen hold on every play. But I just want to say, I might have a little horse in this race because I might be a little biased.
Little Kirk
here,
Cousins
but
horse.
Aaron
It
Rodgers
is a war horse.
Statistically, Kirk Cousins beat Aaron Rodgers in like every single major stat last year, and people still are like Aaron Rodgers.
wasn't
had a
Aaron
better year.
Rodgers hurt a bunch though?
No, I don't think he missed
I
a game.
thought he was hurt for like several weeks out of the year.
Yeah, he definitely was. Tyler,
Did he?
pull it up.
I'm pulling it up
Stat
online
check.
right now.
Yeah. No.
So,
I'll look at those too. 'cause
Aaron
He was.
Rodgers.
I can almost guarantee.
Games. Oh, they're not games.
Just look up injury.
No.
This is great content.
He played
today.
16 of 16 games last year.
Was it the year before then?
Yeah, it
It
was.
must have
It was
been.
no, it was 2 years ago.
All the years
because that was when Anthony Barr landed on him weird, and then
Yeah,
they
from
implemented the
Harbaugh.
new roughing the passer rules.
But to be fair,
Okay.
though, like, yes, he played 16 of 16 games, but also he missed like most of the Chicago game and was then literally playing high for the rest of the season because the NBA, or it's not the NBA, the NFL just gives their players opioids.
They were doping him up before the game.
was
that-
that this year? I swear that was last.
No, that because if you remember,
Clearly,
it
we've
was,
got all of our years mixed
it was
up.
against the Bears that he was because it was the Bears in the first week,
Oh, Bears.
and like what was it Khalil Mack or whatever like fell on him,
Yeah, sounds
and
about right.
he was down, and then he came back out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And after the game, they were like, "Aaron, what did they injure?" And he's just like sitting there.
I've got another hot take for you.
Hurt my leg. What's up? What's
The
a hot
Packers will win the NFC North this year.
take? That is a hot take.
I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't understand. Like I love
They have a good
my
defense.
Vikings. Well,
Yes,
I
they
love.
do.
I mean, I love my Vikings. I think the Packers probably aren't going to be as good this year, but I don't understand how anyone could, see a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year and not have them as the favorite to win the division until
Yeah.
proven otherwise.
I mean, here's the deal.
What about the Bears? They're
Bears.
if they
Their
can get
quarterback.
decent quarterback play out of Mitchell Trubisky,
Or
They
Nick
could be.
Foles.
I saw a report
Oh,
that
gosh.
apparently Nick Foles is just a hair ahead of Mitch Trubisky in the
just
the-
the hair.
No, just that. Well, but
Just
I'm
an
just saying
inch.
the fact that he's just a hair ahead isn't very promising because Mitch Trubisky is not that good. They
I mean,
traded for.
I
Like,
also will
was that
counter that,
from-
by saying that I heard a report that Trubisky's been doing well so far.
I mean,
So,
to be fair though, both of these are reports that you heard. Were they from like? Did they ask Matt Nagy?
some guy on the street was yelling it on the
Yeah.
street corner.
What, like, so it's like, yes, that's a Bears fan who's gonna be like, Mitchell Trubisky's awesome. But if
The
you
Bears.
if you ask Matt Nagy, he's not gonna say like, Mitchell Trubisky looks terrible because Nick Foles will have to be benched at some point this season. That's always the way that it goes.
They still have Mike Glennon.
Honestly, they're better. They're a lot better off if they take Nick Foles off the bench to start the season, and then Mitch Trubisky gets benched because that's where Nick Foles thrives.
Nick
coming in
Foles
taking mid
Thrives
mid-season.
taking over midseason.
You
That's
know
what he does.
who we haven't talked about in that division yet?
Who have we not? The
The
Lions.
Detroit Lions.
One of our friends
Detroit
is a
trash
huge
cans.
Lions fan,
Also,
and he is
sleeper. You have your friend's a lion.
He's
Lions
he's
fan.
a Lions
Oh,
fan.
okay. I was gonna
And
say.
not. I wish I had a lion.
You can talk to animals.
That'd be pretty cool.
Dr. Doolittle, and he wields pens.
I mean,
What
I'm
can't
talking
you
to
do?
animals right now.
Wow.
I-
All right.
that
But
is
he's a huge
offensive.
Lions fan, and
God
he was
bless his
not
soul.
excited for this season. If I remember correctly, he is. I believe he's already said the phrase "next year is our year."
They've
so.
got Calvin. Oh, ooh,
They have
that hurt.
Calvin
No,
Johnson.
Perry.
They-
Yeah, Perry.
Oh.
They had both of those guys at some
What if
point
they
in the
had-
past.
In their primes.
Above average safety Glover Quint. Oh wait, they traded him away for nothing.
Ooh, they still have Darius. Oh, never mind. They don't have Darius.
Oh,
Darius
yeah.
Slay. They isolated Darius. Slay. Well,
They
luckily
got
they're
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, luckily their star
Underrated.
running back, Kerryon Johnson, won't get. Oh, he got hurt again.
Yeah, and dude, Matt Stafford's
He
going to be
didn't
there all
actually-
year
yes,
though.
But I'm just.
Yeah, Matt Stafford. Oh, yeah, he got injured too.
I mean, Matt Stafford's going to be there all
Anyway,
year.
I
I
think
actually like Matt Stafford. I
and-
want to say I think he's very underrated.
Matt-
and
T.J.
he is-
Hawkinson as
he's
well.
kind
is
of in
still-
a-
TJ Hawkinson.
He's still recovering from an injury, from what I saw. So it
They've
just
got a
seems
lot
like-
of injuries.
it's
yeah,
the
if
you
process,
couldn't
okay?
tell.
They,
Trust
they
the
want to hire
process.
Brett Brown.
Oh my
Anyway.
god.
The process lives on.
So I think that's fantasy football is cool. I like
Yeah.
fantasy
In a
football.
nutshell.
Do we want to do college football, or do we want me to do my fantasy thing that I prepared for tonight?
Well,
first,
if
since
you
it's fantasy?
prepared something,
I did.
you know,
I can share with the
that's like
class.
somebody preparing a nice meal and then
Yes.
you being like, "Oh, I'll order a pizza."
Yes.
I
So
brought enough cookies for everyone.
Ooh,
So
ooh,
cookies
I'm
sound
excited.
really good
I
right
like
now,
cookies.
so
Yes.
don't-
I like, for those of you
Don't
that
tempt me.
didn't tune into our Facebook Live show, first off, why not? And second off,
I don't blame you.
I don't blame you. It's fun.
First off, why not?
Quality
Second off,
content.
you're
We're on
probably
bigger
right.
and better things now. So I like to do a little fun segment where I look up something obscure and then just kind of talk about it for a bit. This one isn't that obscure. But
Tyler's
it is,
obscure segment.
yeah, it is. It does have to do with fantasy football. College football is reading too far ahead.
Oh man.
Spoiler alert. And
Rip.
so I looked up the top rated fantasy scorers of the last 5 years. The website that I went to was fantasydata.com. So I'm
Okay.
just disclaimer, just going off their stats, and also their rankings seem to be heavily weighted towards quarterbacks. So I found the top quarterback and also non-quarterback.
I have
quarterbacks
never
score
heard
a
of
lot.
this. I have never heard of this website. So let's trust.
it was just the first
Tyler
one I
made
looked
a
up.
website.
I did
and
make a
he named it
website and
that.
put my own rankings on it.
first.
So
He bought
I
a
thought
domain.
what we could do is I would ask you guys who you thought it was every year, and then I could talk about
Yeah.
who it is. So without further ado, who do you think the top scoring quarterback in 2019 was?
Wait, that's Lamar.
It's definitely Lamar.
It's Lamar Jackson. I don't know why.
he
I
won
had to think
MVP
about
last
that.
Starting
year.
us off with an easy one.
He had
Uh-huh.
415 points and 3,127 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions.
I had him.
1,206 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 fumbles. So he had a great season. He was MVP. You'll notice that's a trend with the quarterbacks. Most of the quarterbacks were the MVPs that year that they won.
I know who 2018 was.
I wonder. So who do you
Tell
think
us, Matt.
who is the top scoring non-quarterback of 2019?
Well, that is
Christian
not the
McCaffrey.
question I said I could answer. So let's go with Christian McCaffrey.
It is Christian
So I had
McCaffrey.
him on my fantasy team, and
He
he
was-
won. And unfortunately, I probably won't be able to get him this year. Otherwise, I would.
Have him again.
Yeah.
Shed a tear for the loss.
He was the number 2 rated scorer in 2019, according to fantasydata.com. And he had 355 points. So see how it's weighted heavily towards quarterbacks. He had 60 less points than Lamar. And I remember in my league, he was the top scorer overall.
Yeah, he was the top scorer. And
I
Yeah.
had him and Josh Jacobs.
1,387 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns, 116 catches,
And a
for
partridge in a pear
1,000
tree.
yards and 4 touchdowns.
and 5 golden rings.
So 2018, this is Matt. This is all you. Who do you think was the top scoring quarterback?
I mean, it can be assumed that it's Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know. Tom Brady might have won MVP that year.
No, that was 3 years ago.
I
It
know.
was
Well, I was
2020.
joking because everyone was debating whether it should be Mahomes or Brady that year, and I was like, it should definitely be Mahomes.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
going to wager it's Mahomes.
It's Pat Mahomes.
Brady Braves.
417 points. I believe that's the highest scoring, like on our list in the last 5
Yeah.
years. He had 5,097 passing yards, 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Just ridiculous. 272 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 fumbles. So who do you think is the top scoring non-quarterback that year? I'll give you bonus
for
points if you can get
2018.
if you can guess what number they were on the list for
Oh,
2018.
crap.
Give us
Oh,
a hint.
boy.
It's a running back.
Well, I mean, that was pretty.
One
I
of
was
the-
going to guess that.
I
I'm
figured.
going to guess Zeke.
He's no longer on the team that he was on.
That's
Melvin
never
Gordon.
mind.
No.
Le'Veon Bell.
All right, I'm just gonna tell you. It's
I don't know.
Todd Gurley the second.
Oh,
He was number 6 on the
Not
list.
Todd
that's
Gurley
right.
first.
dang it.
He was number 6 on the list,
Crap.
behind Pat Mahomes, Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, Deshaun Watson, and Andrew Luck. So
Who is
sad.
it?
Man.
Wow.
Uh,
You're way off.
He has 313 fantasy points, 1,251 rushing yards, 17 touchdowns, 1 fumble, and 59 catches for 580 yards and 4 touchdowns. So
Nice.
2017.
Tom Brady.
Quarterback.
No. Quarterback.
It's actually not Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He did win MVP that year, but he
Yeah.
was not the highest scoring fantasy quarterback.
So that breaks the trend already. Gosh, who
I
would
need a
that?
hint.
He,
Go.
I don't know how I could give you a hint without giving this away.
Division.
He's
Wow.
in the NFC West.
Well, that doesn't help me at all.
Russell
It
Wilson.
is Russell Wilson.
All right, Russell Wilson. All
Russell
right.
Love Muscle.
347.92 points, 3,983 yards, 34 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 586 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 fumbles. Honestly, not like a amazing blow
Yeah,
away
not-
season.
Compared to some recent years. I mean,
So, what about non-quarterbacks?
Non-quarterback for 2017. Le'Veon Bell. That's a
Nope.
good answer.
Le'Veon Bell.
Sad.
Melvin Gordon.
I'll give you a hint that he was already on this list.
Todd.
There's Todd Gurley again. He was the
Todd
top
Gurley.
scoring.
The girly man.
And then 2018, arthritis flared up and he kind of
Yeah.
lost the production.
He
in
got old for a year.
Yeah, exactly. In 2017, he was the number 2 player on the list. 319 points, 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, 3 fumbles, 64 catches, 788 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Jeez.
So we got 2 more years. 2016 quarterback.
I could barely remember what I had for dinner last week. This is tough for me.
So I would say
This is the year that Matt Ryan won MVP.
I was about to say Matt Ryan.
It's not Matt.
I don't think it's Matt right there.
I know we've already.
I need a guess. Final answer.
I have no idea.
Let's give it a guess. Aaron Rodgers.
It was Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
Actually,
at the buzzer.
out of the
300
clouds.
380 points,
At-
4,428 yards, 40 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 369 yards rushing,
R-E.
4 touchdowns, 4 fumbles.
A-X.
All right.
Relax.
Relax.
That was that year.
Discount double check.
I believe.
Different year, but
Was that the year before?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It all runs.
And
The years all run together at this point.
Non-quarterbacks. I mean, we're really bad with years.
None. Le'Veon Bell.
No matter how many times you
Stop
guess Le'Veon
guessing.
Bell, it's
Melvin
not
Gordon.
I will speak it into
not Melvin Gordon
existence.
either. He's also not on the team that he was on back then.
So basically, what you're telling me is that I guess Le'Veon Bell every time. You
Devontae
guess
Freeman.
Melvin Gordon every time.
This player was good enough to be traded for arguably the best receiver in the league.
Oh,
David
It
Johnson,
is David Johnson.
who's
forgot
dropped
about
off
that.
significantly.
Yes, this is
since
the
then.
year. This is the one.
What do
year
you
he had
mean?
an
David Johnson is clearly worth DeAndre Hopkins and a pick.
So he's number 4 on the 2016 list, behind Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, and Drew Brees. 1,239 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns, 3 fumbles, 80 receptions for 879 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then
Jeez.
last one, quarterback,
Last but not least,
2015.
Cam Newton.
It is Cam Newton. This is the year he won MVP.
MVP season. Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I
wow,
remember.
he's going to win one this year too.
159 Yeah.
No.
Be prepared for Cam Newton to be on the
Stop.
top of this list. For
Hey,
this year.
I got a lot of hot takes. Last week I said that Tennessee would beat Alabama
in 2021.
next year, but
Yeah. So 389 points for Cam Newton, 3,837 yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 636 rushing yards, which
Wow.
honestly I thought he had more that year, but
Yeah.
10 touchdowns, 4 fumbles. And then this is the fun one. Who is the highest scoring
Jeez.
non-quarterback this year?
what
From
year is this?
2015.
2015. And
Oh,
I will give
man.
you bonus points if you can tell me what position he was, like what number.
Oh gosh.
Don't think about it too long. You're probably not going to get it.
What, Garrett Blunt?
No.
Is he still in the league at that point?
Matt, one guess real quick.
I have one guess, real quick. Let's go with the Broncos defense.
Antonio Brown. Number
Rip.
18 on the list. There were 17 quarterbacks ahead of him that year. So he was 18 behind Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson. Blake Bortles was number 4 that year.
Dude, I forgot Blake Bortles was.
I forgot he
Carson
Awesome
Palmer
that
was still in the league and on the
Rams
Cardinals.
backup quarterback now. Like
Drew Brees,
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins on the then Washington Redskins. Now
You
Washington
like that?
football team. That was
You like
Matt
You like
Stafford,
that?
Eli Manning, Ryan Fitzpatrick when he was on the Jets.
I think you mean Fitzmagic.
Everyone,
Fitzmagic on the
everyone
Jets.
forgets Ryan Fitzmagic on the Jets was wrong.
Phillip Rivers, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Alex Smith on the Chiefs. I keep dropping my pen. Tyrod Taylor on the Bills, and Ryan Tannehill on the Dolphins. He had 246.2 fantasy points, 28 rushing yards, and 2 fumbles. 136 catches for 1,834 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Jeez,
And that
that's a lot.
is all I have to say about fantasy players. So I hope you learned a little bit.
I
I
learned
did.
a significant
I
amount.
feel a lot
So-
better going into my draft this weekend. Thank you, Tyler.
You're welcome.
I do not.
Historically.
So for our third and final segment, we're going to talk a little bit about some college football here. So we've got college football this weekend. Breaking news.
Isn't it Austin P? And
Breaking.
who are they playing?
Breaking news. We've
Don't
got
leave me hanging.
Central Arkansas versus Austin Peay.
Central Arkansas. I knew that.
It's going to be played locally in Montgomery, Alabama,
All right.
and it's our first college football game.
I mean, sorry for Central Arkansas and Austin Peay. I hope they're not too angry when they listen to this, but it's not a great game.
The coaches
but
call me.
It's still a game.
He wants to speak with.
Oh,
Ooh.
but hey, I mean, I am honestly kind of surprised that it's happening. All summer I was convinced that there wasn't going to be college football, so I'm pleasantly surprised that there is.
Well, guess what, brother? It's gonna happen.
I don't
Do
know
you
what that
think
was.
this game is the domino that can kind of set the rest of college football in motion? Because everybody's been super scared with what's going on, and I'm looking at it right now. They're going to have 25,000 people in that stadium in Montgomery, Alabama, and if they have success with that and there's not too many problems, too many issues, do you think that this can kind of ease a lot of the tension right now that's going on and make the Big Ten and Pac-12 look pretty dumb?
I think that the Big Ten and Pac-12 are too far gone. Like, I don't think they would go back on this.
Oh, I don't think they'll go back, but
But-
if this game kicks off with not a lot of issues, then I do think that's going to be a very bad look for the Pac-12 Big Ten.
It's going to be an awful look, but I don't think it's going to kick off without any
Yeah.
issues.
To answer your question exactly, I do believe that if it goes off well, it could be good for college football.
Yeah, it
but
would
do
be.
I believe it will go well with 25,000 people?
Absolutely not.
Not at all, unfortunately.
There will be
if they
people who
spread them out, though, and if they're wearing masks and they spread them out, though, I mean, it could go well. I mean, we're
I
having
literally-
football in Bryant-Denny, and we're just going to spread everybody out. I think
mean,
it's doable.
I was watching baseball today, and one of the umps was literally wearing his mask below his nose. And if the referees in major sports can't even follow this, what makes you think the fans who are going to be getting drunk are going to be able to follow these rules?
Yeah.
We just don't sell alcohol. I mean, we're not selling alcohol right now at bars here.
You want me to tell every single store in Montgomery? Or is it Montgomery, right?
The-
Or
I believe-
all right.
yeah,
You
it's
want me to
Montgomery.
tell every single store in Montgomery to stop selling alcohol because they will buy it, bring it, drink it before the game, then go in. They're gonna be drunk. They're gonna go like, "Rah, "Hey man, you see that play?" No, it's not gonna work. There's no way this ends well.
It's a lot of skepticism, guys.
Yes,
I'm,
it is.
I'm generally an optimistic person, but we've been back at Alabama for a week now, and there was like 550 cases already.
Well-
granted, that's because college kids are stupid. But
exactly.
Obviously, the numbers are a lot smaller, but we had.
Coach of Austin Peay's calling me.
Oh man.
Oh,
Ooh.
geez, you're in
No,
trouble.
I'm kidding.
We had high school football kickoff last week, and I don't want to say no, it kicked off no issues, but it went pretty smoothly. From what I heard, we had a lot of people at Title 100.9 covered it,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of issues. The fans were spread out; they had their masks on. The coaches had their masks on, and so if that can work, then why can't a small college football game work?
Well, I would
I'm
counter that college or high school football has a lot less of a fan base, and like a lot less people are going to go see high school football games than there are college football.
Oh, so you're just worried about the fan aspect of it. You're not even worried about the
Well,
players.
for the players, I believe that they've been doing a decent job vetting the players, and like obviously every team is probably going to have some form of outbreak this season. I think that's almost inevitable
Yeah,
if
it
you
is.
look at it. I think that as long as they do a good job vetting the players, I'm not even worried about the players. I'm more worried about if this college football game goes on and 25,000 people or however many you said go, and then a big outbreak comes because of that. I think that that will definitely hurt like fans attending games.
But
so,
I'm telling you, as long as they're wearing a mask and they're spread out, how is it any different from? I don't want to say this. How is it any different from protest? If everybody's wearing a mask and they're adhering to the safety protocols and they're spread out throughout the stadium, how is that different than protests we've been having?
See,
Obviously, completely different things.
that's
but
the thing.
It's a fair question.
It on the one hand, I can see what point you're trying to make, but on the other hand as well, at the end of the day, the protesters know the
Yeah.
risk they're getting. They know the risk they're getting into, and they're saying that my life is worth less than the lives of people that will be lost if I don't go out here and protest. That's the point of the protests.
I think that it's like, again, we already talked about all this, so I don't really think we should harp on it too long. But I think that is a lot more essential than physically showing up to a football game.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I mean, importance-wise, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying the bare bones of it.
Yeah. But I'm saying
large
that's why
groups
you
of
can make
people-
the exception.
gathered, and I think I don't know. I see where you guys are coming from, but I think that it can be done, and I think we'll see it this weekend, and it'll continue
Yeah.
to go successfully for a lot of teams. I'm sure that, like we talked about, there'll be some issues for select schools, but I think overall as a whole, it shouldn't be too bad.
And don't get me wrong. I don't want you to get me wrong, though. I'm not one of those like we shouldn't have football, we shouldn't have fans. I really hope it does go well. I'm not sure that it does.
I hope it goes well, but I do not believe in people's ability to follow rules.
Yeah.
Because the warning was given at UA is if you don't wear your mask and you don't social distance, we're not going to have college football. And people have been intentionally not listening to that. So here's a fun factoid for you about COVID. The University of Alabama in the last week has had an increase in number of cases higher than the entire country of Scotland.
Yeah.
In the last week. Now, for reference,
we're number one.
It just means more.
For reference, the population of University of Alabama in 2017 was 38,500. So, you can assume we're probably close to 39,000 or 40,000. The population of Scotland is 5.4 million.
Yeah.
We increased by more than them. Our percentage is through the roof.
I think it's just from the bars and partying because we all have a class together, and when I see people walking around campus, they all have masks on. And, we have to have masks in our class, and it's not an issue. So from what I've seen, not only in class, but also I work at the campus rec center, and people do a phenomenal job at the rec with wearing their masks too, and we're super strict about that. So I don't think it's, having classes in person or, having the gyms being open. It's just the bar situation, which they've dealt with, and we'll see, if that makes a huge difference. I think it will.
I
think the students overall are doing a great job wearing their masks, from what I've seen.
But as we've seen with this, all it takes is one bad apple.
And it's hard
to
to
a whole bunch.
It's hard for everybody to do that, especially in a college town. People have all kinds of urges and they want to party, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I believe that we, along with lots of other colleges across the nation, are probably going to be online pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think that no matter what they do to combat it, I think that because we didn't have a system or a good, a great system, you had to have a perfect system in place right away to stop it from happening. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I think that it's probably too far gone for them to not, because we're number one in the nation right now.
We're number one.
Yeah, I know. They had us number 3 in the preseason ranking. They should have had us number 1.
Yeah.
So I have a question, and it's the last thing we'll talk about before we, move on.
I'd love to answer your question.
Do you think that the university was just concerned with getting their tuition money and wanting to because they had to know this was going to happen? I mean, I can pull up a tweet, that I had months ago saying when college kids come back on a campus, the cases and the numbers will go up. It's going to happen because people haven't been with each other for months. And I mean, I wasn't, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not, rocket science, but it's that's common sense. And they had to anticipate that was going to happen. And so to me, I just wonder if it's like, hey, let's collect our tuition. And
I mean,
I'm not the only one asking that question. That's like a running joke right now on campus. Everybody's like, oh, just wait,
Labor Day weekend. When
Labor
you can't get refunds.
Yeah. Labor Day weekend, you can't get refunds. School will get
the ad drop dates passed too. So
yeah, I think what we're going to see here, and this is just the way that it is at this point, but I think, actually, it's going to be interesting to see what happens now, because if they send students home, it's absolutely going to be after you can no longer get your refund for attending the university.
Which is so wrong. That's like highway robbery right there.
I mean, it's highway robbery. It's shady, but it's good. It's being a good business.
We're off campus, so but think about all the people that live, all the freshmen that live in dorms.
They already
and all
had
the sororities.
to move people out of one of the dorms. I don't remember exactly which one it was.
Burke West, I think.
Yeah.
So the question now would be, when they move students off campus, will they keep student athletes on campus? Because if they do...
Yes, because essentially I feel like right now they're in a bubble of sorts because they can't do much. It's not like they go out all the time. They're busy with football practice and getting ready for a season. I think that it would definitely benefit them if they moved to online.
So now let me tell you why that's a problem. Because now you are admitting that student athletes are not just students who have a love for the sport. You are admitting that these guys are athletes who you are requiring to be there.
So actually, that's kind of hand in hand with my thoughts on the whole college season as a whole. How if you wanted to do it right, if if you didn't want a huge outbreak basically through every team, you would have
Mhm.
needed to do some sort of bubble.
which you
And
can't do.
The NCAA refused to do that because of their mantra that
Players
just
are students.
students,
They're
but they
just
are.
students.
But
They're
you-
not.
I think everyone else but the NCAA is willing to admit that they're more important than
Mm-hmm.
just students, considering how much money they bring in, how much they do for the school. So I think that does big. Should they keep them on campus in a bubble? I think absolutely.
I think absolutely because
Can they?
I think they
that's-
can. They're not
I mean, here's the deal.
officially in a bubble right now, but they kind of are in a way.
I mean, they can do anything they want to.
Yeah,
These
they're grown
kids
adults.
have already like consigned themselves to like they've already like forced these like this issue upon themselves now, where they fought so hard for it. Now you got to make a choice. And of course, the NCAA has kind of weaseled their way out of it, where it's like we're granting free eligibility to anyone who doesn't play this season.
Yeah, it's like, but wait, there's more. There's a special offer. You can get this.
Basically, the
I don't even know.
basically the NCAA has just Pontius Pilated their hands. They've washed their hands in the
That's
water
true.
basin, and it's like whatever happens, it's not us. So now that they have cleansed themselves, they are not capable of being sued. They're saying, I wash my hands of this nonsense. I'm stepping back. It's now up to the conferences to decide what to do
Yeah.
for college football.
And I think that's kind of a good transition into our last topic here, talking about the Big Ten and what the dumpster fire that's been going on with them. 8 parents of Nebraska football players today filed a lawsuit against the Big Ten Conference, aiming to declare invalid the league's decision to postpone fall football season, seeking nominal damages for breach of contract and tortious
Wait,
interference.
Hold up.
Which I don't think is an
Breach
actual
of
turtle.
Contract for college
Oh.
athletes.
I think it's interesting that the reason
different.
why the Big Ten didn't want to play is because they're worried about getting sued, and now the parents are suing.
Okay,
the
Exactly.
conference.
the parents aren't going to win though.
They're not. I don't think
they
they're going to win, but it definitely sends a strong message. And
It's like
not that messages need to be any stronger with the players like Justin Fields and everybody else speaking out. The conference as a whole, it's just a dumpster fire. It's a complete dumpster fire. And there was that rumor. Was it last week that they didn't even like have a vote, or maybe it was the week before that the commissioner Kevin Warren just kind of decided on his own without input from everybody else, which is like such a rookie move. And he is a rookie. He's only been there. This is his first year. But I feel like that's a common thing. If you hold a vote, you have to let everybody have a say. I mean, that's only fair.
I mean,
welcome to the Democratic Republic that is the United States.
the Congo. Oh,
I thought you were going to say
no,
that too. I was
we-
going to add that, but
We are not a democracy. We're a democratic republic. We elect people to make decisions for us.
that's true.
So
and
you think?
so that's what we have signed up for in creating a system like that.
But I don't think.
But there's
every
so many
system, just
teams
'cause
in the
I don't
Big
think
Ten,
it's a
and
I don't think it's
one guy
right.
has to make the decision. A
One
guy
guy
who's
did.
only been there for a year, who just got booted out of the NFL because he was doing such a
Mhm.
bad job.
And here's the thing: he shouldn't have made the decision himself. He should have delegated.
Yeah.
He should have said, "Guys,
Mhm.
let's all do a vote." That way, it takes it off his back. But the problem with being in that position is that he has the power to just make that decision. Now it's up to people seeing what happens when this happens, like seeing how this happens and what occurs when it does happen. Now, do you put restrictions on stuff like that? Do you put restrictions on these conference heads?
I think that's a decision that has to be made as a whole. I don't think
Yeah.
one guy who's almighty powerful gets to make that decision.
Mhm.
And that brings up another good point that I want to talk about. Do you think college football should have a commissioner of sorts?
Honestly,
Nick Saban would be perfect for it.
Get
Obviously,
rid of the
we're
burn the
Bama
NCAA to the
biased,
ground.
Yeah, I
but-
think
because Mark
NCAA
Emmert is NCAA president.
The
Terrible
NCAA,
job.
so long as the NCAA exists, there will not be a smart way to handle any of this. You need to tear down the establishment and build something else in its place.
I think they're so inconsistent and they handle so many different issues poorly. I think that a commissioner would be an interesting idea. I think it would be a kind of a harder job than you're giving
Yeah,
credit for, though,
'cause
because like
it's
you're
a
commissioner
lot.
of the NFL, there's 32 teams. You're commissioner of the NBA, there's 30 teams
Do a commissioner for
for each conference. They already
No,
how
like
about,
Power Five.
Power 5 commissioner,
Yeah.
and then
so
that'd be
here-
manageable.
here's
I mean,
just-
how many?
It's still a
It'd
lot
be-
of
yeah.
teams, though.
Here's a direct reference to why we say that the NCAA is not a very good organization and they kind of just make arbitrary decisions.
Yeah, we'll finish up with this, and then we'll close out.
There was a player who played at, I believe, Virginia Tech. This is for basketball.
Talking about Javon Cornelli.
I think. No, not JQ, not JQ.
Jelly.
There was a guy who
Villanova.
played for Virginia Tech, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to declare for the draft. I played really well last year. I'm declaring for the draft." Decided when he saw his stock wasn't that high, said, "You know what? I'm going to come back. I'm going to go to a different college." His waiver got approved today. They declined a waiver of a guy whose father is suing the school he was currently at because of different reasons or whatever. But why would you approve a guy who just said, "I want to go to a different school. I'm not feeling this school," and a guy who literally has a legal reason to leave?
Another
The
common
waivers are so.
The waivers are out of
Cade
it.
Mays hasn't
Yeah,
had his
another
waiver
common,
approved,
like,
but KJ
example of that.
Costello and
all the quarterbacks that transfer basically get it approved no matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Jamie Newman and JT Daniels. Yeah.
And then, but if you're any other position, it's a crapshoot. It's literally
Yep.
like they throw a dart,
Especially
at a
if you're
dartboard
not-
that just has yes and
It's
no
about
on it.
popularity too. If you're not a popular player, you're one of those guys who's maybe like a second or third string guy, or even lower on the totem pole. You're going to be less likely to get approved because what do you bring to the table? Like
Yeah,
nobody
like-
really. I don't want to say nobody cares about you, but
Say
from an
Travis,
entertainment value standpoint,
say Travis Etienne transfers. They're not going to say no. They're not going to be like,
God,
no,
no.
you have to
we
sit out of
couldn't
here.
we
Yeah.
couldn't finish out the show without a Travis Etienne.
I had to bring him up. I love
We're
the
going to
guy.
talk about Travis Etienne every week
Every
now.
week. This is
Even
the
if we
Travis
so much
Etienne
as just
show.
say
Thanks
his
for
name.
watching.
No,
We'll
that is
try and get him
not-
to call in. I don't know. We'll work on that. So thank you for listening. This is episode 2 of the Super Sports Flash. We'll be back next week recording. This episode should be up by the weekend. Hello, YouTube.
Yeah,
I've been looking away from the camera, but I'm Joe Will signing off. Have a good night.
I'm Matt Nash signing off. Have a good night.
I'm Tyler Shibish signing off. Have a good night.
Roll Tide.